Okay, so Hillary, I've been following you on Instagram specifically for a very long time
Mhm.
and have always felt like I knew you in a weird way. And so we've been like DMing each other, sending each other love, whatever the crap. Is that accurate to you? How did you think we like came together? Okay.
Yeah, that's how I also witness it. Like you're one of those people that stand out and that like immediately I'm like, I want her in my close friends.
Yeah.
She feels safe. Like she feels super safe. Like that's my person. I don't know, like one of my people. Like you just know them when you
Yeah.
see them. Like, yeah.
Yeah. You were in close friends like over people that I see often. Just
Yeah.
so really, really grateful for this moment. And I've followed you. I've seen what you do through photos, but like for folks who don't know you, how would you describe yourself and like who you are and like what you're about? What gets you like excited about life?
Ew, what gets me excited? What gets me excited about life is adventure,
Mm,
newness, um, taking risks. Like, yeah, seeing myself like trust myself, like
mm.
trusting myself. That gets me excited. I'm about my yoga practice, traveling big time. Um, I'm now at a place where being around family also gets me excited. I need my breaks, but
Yeah.
but yeah, those are a few things that kind of light me up.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
What right now would you say is like bringing you joy? It's like December, it's almost a new year. Any like rituals or practices or like a piece of food that's like really blowing you up right now?
Mm, you know what? Okay, maybe a few things. So
Mm.
like one of my favorite rituals is to light things. Like I got a reading once and she told me like, based on, you know, how you're made up, right? With the information that I gave her, you should be burning things. She even told me I should be smoking. I
Wow.
wish I could still smoke because I love the act of smoking cannabis, not like
I
cigarettes, but
do.
like cannabis. I hella love that. But instead of that, I burn things like around the clock. So like incense, sage, Palo Santo. Like I wish I had some right now.
Mm,
So like that's a ritual that keeps but just it reminds me of like I don't know, I think it just awakens my senses. And that's one
mm,
of those things that just like instantly grounds me and brings me joy. And I have
that's
this really dope book I'm reading right now that's also bringing me joy. A
okay.
matcha latte brings me joy.
I love,
Yeah.
yeah, I love when like either you find it or it finds you something that you didn't have in your life before, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, you're like a part of my life now, and I need you to come.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, all of for me, like I don't know, wellness and stuff. The wellness what I define as wellness now is new. I was raised like super traditional Christian, and some of the practice I have right now would have been deemed as like evil, like right now. I'm curious about your upbringing and if yoga's always been a part of it or it has what's the journey been like for you?
Yeah. Swear to God. I have an aunt who um back when I first started burning sage, I was living in her home and like it was like the devil's lettuce. Like,
Yeah.
what is this? What is that for? Da, da, da. And now she's asking me, like, so where do you get that stuff? Years
Oh,
later. But yeah, I do have many practices that I guess would be demonized as well. And like I didn't grow up traditionally Christian, but I found that path like when I was in my early 20s, like 21, 22 type thing. Yeah. So I was doing that for a couple of years. I found my way into Christianity and I thought like, I didn't have this background, but maybe this is my my golden ticket to a better life, because the upbringing was kind of rough. So I was like, maybe being a Christian would be like the thing. Um, but there was just things and many principles that just didn't resonate and I didn't align with, but I was trying to force myself into this world. And eventually I found my way out. So, yeah, I did find yoga. I have another aunt who was like, why are you doing yoga? Like, that's
yeah.
not this, that, having all these things to say. But ultimately, like, I had to live in my own exploration. I had to allow myself to explore outside of that box.
Yeah. One
Yeah.
of the one of the things we were talking before about like pivotal moments kind of that have helped us. And you talked about the ending of your marriage, which seems like a huge, I haven't been married, but it sounds like a big what can you talk about that and whatever you're comfortable sharing.
Yeah, that was a huge death. I look at it as like a huge death. It's something that, brought on a lot of grief, but it also like freed me in the best of ways, to no longer be again forcing myself to fit inside of something that like no
Mm,
longer served me and was no longer in alignment. Like we met, I think like we met for we obviously met for a reason. Like I don't think that it was on accident. But I feel like our work together was done at a certain point. And at that point, like and me being conscious of like, oh, we've made it to this point and now like it's no longer, it hasn't been healthy. Like
mm,
the best thing for us to do is like to free ourselves and like, go discover what life is like outside of this marriage because like we're not functioning in a healthy way.
mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
And how long ago was that?
Everything was pretty much closed out in 2022,
Okay.
but things started before that. Like they started like maybe I had started having the conversation in like 2019,
Mm,
and 2020 was like the confirmation. Like things shut down, and just like being locked down in a house, with my ex, knowing that like, we're trying, sometimes we're
yeah.
trying, but like ultimately, like, no. My body started sending me signals. I was getting sick. I had my first panic attack. There were many things that like just transpired that I was like, you have to close this out.
Yeah.
You have to close this out. Like you're called for to move on to the next chapter. Yeah.
How did you I guess I've been there in a relationship, maybe not in a marriage, but like for me, I get these like I get these like nudges, like a hoop, hop, whoop, this ain't it. Nope, nope, nope. And usually, I will not say usually, I'll say in the past, I've kind of like suppressed it for as long as I can. And I'll be in these like 2 year relationships, 4 year relationships. Um, and then it becomes like so unbearable that I finally like get the gusto to say something. And sometimes I'm actually like praying for that. I'm like, can you make it
Mm.
so obvious for me that it's easier for me to say something? And I don't know if I should continue doing that. But I'm curious about like um what was your vibe like towards the end where you're like, okay, I'm gonna do this. I'm almost excited about what the future brings. Were you dreading it? Was it kind of like a mutual like we see what's happening?
All of what you just said
Yeah,
completely resonates. I'm the
yeah.
type of person that will stick it out till the end, like until I am miserable and suffering. Um, so yeah, all of that completely is on point for me as well. Towards the end, it wasn't exciting. It was
Mm,
terrifying. And it broke me to have to do this because the other person involved did not see it the same.
mm,
They
mm.
were willing to like to keep going, even how sticky it had been for years. It was sticky in the boyfriend girlfriend stage. It was sticky in the engagement, and it was sticky in the marriage. And it was just like, I once I realized that I was like, wow, like I don't know that we've ever been healthy. Like we've just been like we got here on vibes. Like we got here on vibes. Like so
Yeah.
it terrified me because I feel like we got to this point. Our I wouldn't say our families were involved, but our families, like you know, a marriage is more than just two people. Our lives are beginning to, they have begun to intertwine. Like your family, my family, friends, everything. So it was like, not only am I divorcing you, I'm ending the life that I thought I would have, this
Mm,
vision that like I thought we would have together. I'm ending like relationships. I'm already knowing relationships will end, with people that maybe I met through you. Like I just didn't see that continuing either.
mm,
So I didn't have this like, oh, I got this clarity. It's time for me to go. It was like, oh my God, I cannot believe I have to do this.
Mm,
That's what it felt like. But
mm.
it felt like a fight against my body. And I knew that like the day that I actually said, this is when I'm leaving, it felt like this sensation in my body that wanted to like kind of take me down, like
Wow.
to crumble. Like if you don't speak up and say this, it felt like I was gonna fall to the floor. Like I was gonna
Mm,
lose all my strength. So I had to like find the strength to
wow.
vocalize and speak it out loud. Like, hey, this is what's happening. Like, yeah, it sucked,
Wow.
but
I'm
it
on
was.
a like a I don't know. I'm on a spiritual journey. I'm listening to this audiobook by Jen Sincero called How to Be a Badass. And she says in the book that like the moment you make up your mind to do something, we as a society think that like the doors are going to open and everything's going to be easy and you're going to get all these signs. And she talks about um being a coach and helping people through transitions, businesses, relationships, whatever. And she has so many stories of people who make up their mind. They're like, I'm gonna go all in on my business, and then they lose their job, or somebody got in like a bus accident, and ba ba ba. And then she's like, it's not. She's like, I think her interpretation is that the universe, that is your sign that you are on the right path.
Mm,
Is feeling that crunchy, whatever the crap. It's not. It may not be like rainbows and feel good. It might be clunky, but it means you're doing the, it's like almost testing you in a way.
yeah, definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. I knew I was walking into like a new life. Like things
Mm.
were not necessarily easy, but it's like, two income household for the most part. Towards the
Ooh,
end,
girl.
you listen,
Money.
money, okay, security went out the window. I knew. Towards the end, I took a leave of absence, but yeah, I knew I was walking into, being a single woman and then also moving back home with family. Like that was an adjustment. And then starting over from scratch. Like it was a hard adjustment period for me. But I knew that I still knew, even though it was tough, I was on the right track. I did
Wow.
have that confirmation. Yeah.
And so maybe I haven't even seen this pre-Hillary version. I've only seen the post, you know.
Yeah.
I see like that Gone with the Wind meme, like Scarlett is just in the, she's like on top of the land and she's just like, that's so interesting.
It is interesting, and I'm grateful because, like, the way that I'm perceived, people do, they think I'm like this fairy, and they're just like, "Oh, you look so happy and so free and all of these things." And I'm grateful for like, I'm grateful for people's reflections of me because, like, before I almost look back at that version of myself, like, damn, like, who was I? I have a lot of grace for her, and I'm very like thankful. Like she got me here, like each step. But I don't know. It was like she was just trying to be safe. She was just trying to be safe in the best way she knew how, and like none of what I was doing was really for me. Like the
Mm.
inner people pleaser, wanted to please everyone around me except for myself. And then
Mm.
it doesn't help when you don't even know yourself. So I didn't even know how to please myself. So like after when I started, the single life, that's when all of this other
Mm.
shit came.
Mm. I was talking about this yesterday and we were talking about addiction and I wasn't really thinking about it in like stuff you can't quit, but just like stuff that feels so good that you don't want to. And so we were talking about like sex and relationships. And I was just noticing that like the level of intention that I was putting into bettering myself as like a sexual lover, like
Mm,
books and magazines and chat forums. And I was not doing the same thing for just Krista. Like, how do
mm,
I build up my self love or how do I trust myself? How do I listen to my intuition? And just recognizing that and being like, well, what is it? Like, whatever you put your energy on, it grows. And so
yeah.
shifting the energy like to yourself, being like an intentional act, because that shit is not automatic all the time
Mm-mm.
at all.
No. Can I ask who was it for if it wasn't for yourself?
Oh,
Or
Hillary.
what was it
I
for?
think it was for me, but I think it's in a
Yeah.
different, I think it's validation, affirmation. Like I, there is getting like being complimented on my prowess. When I grew up, I didn't get a lot of my sister and I got a lot of I love you, but we didn't get a lot of like, you're so good at this, you're so smart, you're so, I felt loved, but I didn't feel
Like seen.
seen. But I think that's what it felt like. You're super exposed, you're getting compliments, someone is affirming you, and particularly somebody who like incorporates some like BDSM principles. If
Yeah.
you look at Dom sub stuff, it is literally like praise. It's baked in. I'm like, you get to tell me how good I am.
Yeah.
So I so I feel like I don't feel like I was doing it for other people, but I think I'm still like interrogating because again, I don't know if it's a bad thing, but I don't think there's a balance right now of the validation that I give myself and the validation I get from other people, be it in
Hmm.
relationships or in sexual relationships. And so now I feel like I have this space because I'm also newly single of like, well, how do I nurture myself? How do I cuddle myself? How do I, and it feels silly, but also
Hmm.
Jen Sincero's like, no, is it Jen Sincero? Louise Hay, all these affirmations I'm listening to, um, says something like, I take care of myself because I love myself. I'm the most awesome person I've ever met. And I'm just like, I need to like,
Believe it. Yeah, but like get over that like the silliness thing. Like this is weird. It kind of is. Like I'll share like one of my practices
mm,
when I want to connect with myself, like even if I'm doing like um self-connecting, let's say self-connecting solo play, right? It's a very intimate experience. Not to like take it there, but like
do
it's
it.
a very like
Mhm.
it's it can like there's a part of me like if I'm like outside looking in, I'm like part of me feels like oh this might look silly, feel silly, but ultimately it's like it's bringing me to me like so the affirmations and all the things that make me feel like kind of weird like I'll really take my time with myself like I'll really like be massaging my shoulders softly and I'm just like spending time just like in a certain area just like showing this part love which might
Wow.
have been like this is so strange but like touch, since that's like one of my strongest love languages, like more than words of affirmation. Words of affirmation tends to be like low for me, but
Mm,
touch, it's like okay, like you deserve to be touched as well by yourself in a loving, soft, intentional way. And it might
wow.
feel strange, but like now it's getting to a point where like, oh, this is what I want, this is what I deserve, and now nobody else cannot they cannot touch me like like you have to touch me how I touch me like in a soft loving way like don't come over here with all that aggressive shit
Wow.
and
My,
same with the words
yeah. What are the things you said the same with the word?
with words
With
with yeah like
words.
with the words yeah the things that are said to myself like the way that I believe about myself like you kind of have to speak to me the same way like yeah filling me up like I had an ex where like he was a walking words of affirmation like for me, like just like filling me with all, but it was like that's what I need. Like this is what I believe about myself. Like
Yeah.
thank you for affirming all of this.
Yeah. I love that because I think ideally if partnership is what we want in all the ways that can look, but like instead of it being, and I guess neither is bad, but you have someone like me who definitely it felt like um I want to say a lack, but I also don't want to say that. But like if you have somebody who's raised in a loving household and they get that, they see that, it's so much more easier for them to attract that, to point it
Yes.
out in a crowd. If you don't get that, me, first dude who ever said I was cute at the Pizza Hut, I'm like, yeah, you can be my boyfriend. Sure. You think I'm pretty? Yeah. And I had no issues. I had no qualms. I wasn't conflicted. I was like, yes, this is it. This will be my husband. Am I 17? Yes.
Yes, you are preaching to the choir. To the choir.
That is hysterical.
Wow.
Yeah. And then being 34 and literally being like, oh, I get it.
Understanding the root of it. Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
solo play thing, you're giving me something to think about because I don't do that. I'm two
Mm.
minutes. I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever done that. I used to have a time when I was younger and I would purposefully like stand in front of a mirror naked and like oil my body and just admire myself.
I love that.
I used to do that. But I love that idea. You're like you're treating yourself almost like a baby, you know?
Yeah. I put on music. I like
Wow.
candles. Yeah, like I just really
Wow.
take my time because yeah, like, yeah, we got shit to do. Like we're busy women, we got shit to do. So sometimes it just needs to be quick. But um I guess yeah, I just wanted to explore my body in a more intimate way and like really know me. And so yeah, slowing down and taking my time and not just using that area for, you know, this
Wow.
thing. It's more so like now I'm enjoying the process to getting to this, beautiful thing. But
Ah,
like now it's not just, I need this quick satisfaction. Now it's like journey.
wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I love it. I love it. Do you you cannot answer this. Do you watch porn when you're doing it or are you just mental?
I'm a mental girl. I'm a mental girl. I am like very imaginative and like, yeah, I can set the scene up here. But also, that's another thing that I've been trying to be more mindful of. I don't know if this is like a little bit too woo woo out there, but like I used to imagine like like maybe like a fantasy with someone, right? But then I started feeling like, is that like some type of spiritual boundary where it's like, I don't know, it feels like I'm, doing this thing with you that you didn't consent to, even in
Yeah.
auric, my auric field. It's like, I don't know. So it started feeling like a little weird to do that. But I just kind of imagine, what do I even imagine? I don't know. I think I just get lost in the mood of it all.
Mm.
I won't say that there's not times where like I get scenes or flashes or like things that like I would like to happen or maybe things that happened in the past, but I try not to get too like attached to a scene with someone else, especially
Mm.
if it hasn't happened.
Mm.
Yeah, because it's
Wow.
about me. It's about connecting with me. So like, yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
It's so interesting because it's like the now that I'm thinking about it, it's like usually I'm watching porn like majority of the time. And it's like I've had different faces. But um it's interesting that something like you saying like putting yourself in the mood, you're hot already. So I'm wondering why I don't think I've ever like watched porn or put something on and like not already been in the mood. So I'm
Mm,
curious now, like why you don't necessarily need anything else if you just ride that wave, like recognize it's okay to just explore that feeling.
yes. And honestly, it's not all the time I'm like super hot and revved up though. Sometimes I'll recognize like my emotional state, and if I'm in a good healthy space but I realize like I'm missing connection, I'm missing
Oh,
like if I feel like alone, like I'm missing connection. Most times, yes, being with someone would be great, but most times the connection needed is with myself. So that's when I'm like, let me tune in. And it's not always in that way, but
that's emotional. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even know if it's singleness for me. There's something that I think that happened in COVID where I started being in these like social situations, groups of people, like dozens of people, an event or something. And then after it was done, I would drive myself home and I would cry my eyes out because I felt lonely. And
Mm,
it's still happening. I did a
mm,
play recently in Boston. Again, something that's like lots of exertion and blah, 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 blah. You do the thing, you're saying hi to people in the audience. And then I was staying at a friend's house and I'm driving to my friend's house and I'm crying.
Wow.
And I'm like, is it because I'm not going home to somebody? Is it, have I like overextended myself in some way and I'm just tapped out? But there's definitely a lot of material, I think, in my life around kind of deciding that I have to do a lot of stuff solo and then recognizing that like maybe that's not what I want. Like my family didn't come to a lot of my plays. Like I've been acting for a really long time. And a lot of times because of like money or not having transportation, I would do all this stuff, get all these praise from strangers. And then no one I knew came to support me. And I would be filled with loneliness, full face of makeup, adrenaline, but sad.
Wow.
And you talking about, oh, well, the person I might be missing is me.
Girl.
That's that never crossed my mind. That never crossed my mind.
Mm. Yeah. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for
Thank
sharing
you
all
for
of
sharing.
that. Yeah. It's not easy. It's not easy work. Like I wish there was, you know, I wish it was an easier way, but yeah, that has been true for me most times. Is the connection I need is like here. And I've fought the universe about this. Like, why? Why did you
Yeah,
send me here to be alone?
yeah, yeah.
But yeah.
But I can only imagine too the level of peace you have now. Like you must feel so good.
It's kind of nice. It's kind of nice. Like, I think it's maybe one of those things the longer it goes on. But yeah, it's kind of nice to be single and like there's still moments where I do like absolutely like want partnership. And I'm still trying to figure out what that looks like in my life because even after being in a monogamous marriage for so long, well, we were in a monogamous relationship. I've been monogamous all my life. And now I'm like, do I even want to be monogamous anymore? Do I even
Yeah.
want to date men anymore? Like what is it? Like it could be anything now. Now like
Mm-hmm.
the world is open. So this is a good period for me to just like be
I
with
love it.
myself and kind of figure things out. And
I
so I
love
do enjoy it. Yeah.
because everything is not negotiable. That's not the word I'm looking for. Everything is can be what you want. Everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Definitely.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna pivot a little bit. I'm super curious about um, any routines in your life. When you wake up, what do you do? When you go to sleep, what do? You look very moisturized. Your
Thank
outfits look
you.
beautiful, and you look like you always just look put together, but not in a way that seems like,
Mm.
oh, I could never do that. But also a level of like, how does she do that? So
Thank you.
yeah, I think that's part of the valuing yourself.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, whatever you're comfortable sharing, how do you like get ready?
Yeah. I get ready by doing this, like taking a pause and breathing. Like that's one of the things I like to do in the morning. Like sometimes I be on bullshit and I'll grab my phone and I'll start scrolling.
Yes.
That's when I'm just like, whatever. But for the most part, what serves me best is when I just take a moment and I just like pause and breathe. And it doesn't look like, always like this long meditation. I'm sitting like cross finger, anything like that. It looks like taking a moment, like taking in the space, taking in the room, like what is around me? What do I see? What do I feel? What do I hear? I'm very connected with my senses. So like that's what kind of gets me like, awake. And that's where the burning things comes into play.
Yeah.
I used to have this like elaborate skincare routine because I used to do makeup. I don't know if we were following each other during that period. I don't
Mm,
think so. I think that was like
I don't know.
pre-COVID. And
Okay.
I did a little bit in 2020, like when the stores started opening up again, but I did makeup for a really long time. So I used to have this elaborate skin routine. Now it's like super simple. You know, I keep it so simple. Some face essence, moisturizer, and I call it a day. um,
Nice.
for bedtime, like I'm more of a morning person than I am a night person. So my night routine needs work.
Okay.
The same thing I do for the morning, I need to like slow down, pause, breathe. But there's a lot of times where I'm bullshitting and I'm like on my phone. But we're working on it. I'm like embracing all the phases that come with, come with this. And then
Beautiful.
dressing, like getting dressed actually has been a lot more fun lately. I think it's like accepting myself and like learning who I am, because at first I think I was just dressing how I thought I should look, or like, I don't know. I think I felt it necessary to follow trends and
Mm,
also like to look good next to this person. Because even the
mm,
stores that they shopped at, like I would start to shop at. Like I was never really a J. Crew girl. Like here I am in J. Crew. Like what? Like I don't know. It's like no shade to
yeah.
J. Crew, but like because they have some cute quality stuff, but it just like the style that I had just doesn't even align with like
Mm,
now. Um, so now getting dressed has been a lot of fun, and just playing with clothes and letting that be a form of expression, because I really think I should be living somewhere where I don't have to worry about clothes and just be naked. But since
hey.
I have to, yeah, I've been having fun with just playing with clothes, and also leaning into not being as like, I think I know I am a very feminine woman, but leaning into not being so like, like it feels cute to wear things that are super oversized, or like beanies, and not wearing makeup, and like, having a little bit more of a grunge appearance. Like I think the play on that has been really fun for me too.
Yeah. Oh, I
Yeah.
love that. I think it came up for me during COVID. I was like, I don't feel like wearing tight things anymore. I don't want to wear a dress
Yeah.
or a skirt or
Skinny jeans. Yeah.
it's free. It's so free.
Yeah.
I think my last thing might be, Hillary, is about like your traveling experience. You are
Yeah.
a flight attendant, you're a yoga instructor, lots of stuff. Um, how did you get into being a flight attendant? What are some of the favorite places you've gone to?
Yeah. So the flight attendant thing came on because I was like in transition. Like I was doing makeup, but it wasn't as lucrative as I needed it to be. And so like my ex at the time was like, why don't you just like, look into being a flight attendant? And plus we were long distance. And so anything you do, like that's encouraged by a partner, I don't know. It's like back then, like again, like that person who also was seeking validation in that version of myself in men and boys. Um, it would just take the simplest little thing and I'd be like, okay, yeah, I should, So that's kind of how it happened. He's like, you should do this. And I was like, okay, I'll look into it. And it happened like really quickly. In
Wow.
2015, I just sent an application to this company that's no longer around, Virgin America. And
Yeah.
yeah, I was hired. 10 years later, I'm still here. We're under a new brand. We got purchased out, but that's how the flight attendant thing happened. But I'm grateful. Like ultimately it all happened like as it should. There was definitely some years of misery, like pure
Mm,
misery. But
mm,
I feel like I made it to the other side where it's like, okay, this finally feels good.
wow.
Like, yeah. But I would not recommend for many people. Like,
It
yeah.
is it so I have a friend from college who's a flight attendant. And so I have a little bit of knowledge, but is it as flexible as we think? Like to me, I'm like, oh my God, you get to pick where you go and when. Is it like that?
It gets like that.
Okay.
So in the beginning, and depending on your company, because every company has different rules and like seniorities. So with my company, we are smaller compared to like some of the bigger fish,
Okay.
like the bigger airlines. But so like at year 10, I'm not senior, but I'm senior enough to have like flexibility where I can kind of move around and do what I want.
Mm,
So the way that, and like I can pick my schedule for the most part. For the most part, I can kind of like gauge and see like what it is that I can hold, what cities I can get, the time off I can take. For the last couple of years, I will take like 1 or 2 months off per year.
wow.
So you can kind of play it how you want when you get to a certain point. The other thing is that with my company, you have a set amount of hours to work per year. And this is where I really would love to get to. I'm not there yet because I'm not like, yeah, I need to get there. But where you can pretty much bang out your schedule in a set amount of time and then take the rest of the time off. Or like have most of the time off and then come and fly at the end of the
Oh
year.
my
So as long as
God.
you meet that minimum, you can like make it work. Cause then you can have like 6 or 7 months off of flying.
And do you
Like,
get like free flights and stuff? Like,
yeah, I
and you
do. I
get
fly
free,
domestically free and internationally I pay taxes.
oh my God. And do
Yeah.
you get like a buddy pass?
No, I do not get buddy passes, but I have like a travel dependent, I guess it's called, a travel dependent, and then I have two people that they're kind of like under the umbrella of like Alaska Airlines. So the travel dependent can travel kind of along with me, and
Wow.
then the other two, they can only fly on my airline.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Have you had any exciting flights?
Exciting. Um, Honestly, I had one recently that was super exciting, and the reason is because there was only 12 people on board.
Wow.
It was just 12 people, and it was amazing, and everyone slept, and they were all nice, and I love flights like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll ponder. I'll ponder. Um, well, Hillary, I want to be mindful of time. I wanted you to talk about New Orleans if you wanted to, but
Yeah.
where are you right now with your life? Any words of wisdom that you want to share to folks who are like, they want to pivot, they don't know how, maybe they haven't traveled, maybe they're in a relationship that anything you want to say.
Yeah. New Orleans, I'll touch on really quickly because I'm about to kind of embark on maybe an unconventional life. Like there's people doing it, but it's a little unconventional. I don't want to be tied down anymore, so I'm gonna like take the year to travel
Ah,
in between time, like on my own leisure time. And also like
yeah.
I want to expand in my yoga practice. So I'm honestly just not home in New Orleans enough to teach at a yoga studio as much as I love it here, because I'm still based in Los Angeles, like I don't spend enough time here
Mm,
to really like commit to doing that. So to me, teaching yoga on retreats next year is like the idea that I'm going to make happen.
yes.
But New Orleans has been amazing. It's a very gorgeous city. Like I've loved it. I've loved being here. Like it feels so cozy. And
Mm,
if it's not any other like domestically, the only other place I could see is New York. So
mm,
like New York or New Orleans, but New Orleans is more affordable for my budget.
got it.
So like yeah, but for next year, yeah, travel is on the horizon. But for people who are like, I don't know, wanting to try something new, just lean in. I would just
Mm,
say just lean in. Like as scary as it is, like fear fear for me has just been proven itself to not be real.
mm,
It's just not real. I've seen it time and time again. Like unless you are in like grave danger, the fear that we make up, like I've made up so much fear in my life. I just don't want to be led by that anymore. And I've
mm,
done stuff that has terrified me and I've made it to the other side. And every time I do, it just makes me feel a lot more powerful. Like, oh,
mm,
like that shit was for nothing. So just I would say lean
mm.
into everything you feel, even as uncomfortable as it is. Like we are supposed to experience the range of human experiences and emotions. So
Golly.
yeah, go
Wonderful.
for it.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Thank you. I could do this forever.
I
Well, talking to
know.
you.
I don't know how I'm gonna end this, but thank you all for listening. Choice to be happy. Please, oh Hillary, if folks want to follow you, support you,
Yeah.
what are your handles and stuff?
Yeah, on Instagram and YouTube, actually, I go by what Hill said. And then I started a new YouTube Flow channel, and that's Flow with Hillary. Yeah,
Okay,
so travel content, travel vlogs, and yoga stuff. Yeah,
amazing. Well, thanks for
yeah.
your time. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks for
Thank
supporting Choice to be
you.
happy. Dee, 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 dee.